What's up YouTube? My name is Zach with Android Digest, and today I'm going to be doing a quick unboxing video on the Samsung Galaxy Tab S7. I want to give you my first impressions, my hands-on impressions, as I show you how the device works, and I want to do an unboxing to show you what it looks like as you take it out of the box and what comes in the box as well. I also want to do an unboxing on the Galaxy Tab S7 keyboard cover. I want to let you know if the keyboard is any good, at least for my first impressions, because that's very important. This device just came out not too long ago in the US. I know it's just arriving in the mail for some of you who already ordered it. So I want to give you my impressions and my thoughts, and you should expect a review within the next couple weeks. So with all that being said, I want to get straight into the video. Let's get it started and let's see if this device is good or if it's not. Alright, so if you open the box up, the first thing you're going to notice is the tablet itself. Now, when you take it out of the wrapping, you're going to notice it is a boxy design. It's just a little bit heavier. It's a little over a pound. It's a little heavier than the Galaxy Tab S6, but it is also a bigger screen. It's an 11-inch screen on this model. Now, this model retails again for $650, and there is the 12.5-inch screen. That is the bigger sibling of this. It's the Galaxy Tab S7 Plus. That retails for $850 at the base model. Both tablets have the Snapdragon 865 Plus processor, so you're not going to notice a huge difference in performance. Both tablets start with 6 gigabytes of RAM, and you can go up in RAM if you go up to a higher model. But if you take a look at this device, it will remind you a lot of the iPad Pro because it's sort of a boxy design. I really love that they're not going with some super curved screen here. I love that it is a boxy design because it's a lot better for, well, tempered glass screen protectors. I really do like those for protecting my devices. If you take a look at the device, you're going to notice the camera is on top here. That is the new way for Samsung apparently, because they want you to use this in landscape mode, which is how a lot of bigger tablets are supposed to be used. So that's actually a nice, cool thing, but it makes it a little hard to tell you what's the top and the bottom of the device. But if you do look above the camera here on top, you are going to notice the power button. And that is one big difference between this and the Tab S7 Plus. It's actually one reason why I prefer the cheaper model. The Tab S7 has a fingerprint sensor in the power button, and the Tab S7 Plus has it in the device itself. So depending on who you are, you might like one or the other. I prefer an actual fingerprint sensor. I find they're more reliable and they're a little quicker. So you also have the volume up and the down there, and you have a micro SD card slot, which is a nice bonus. Now, on this part of the device, you have 2 speakers and you also have a USB-C port. On the bottom, I would say, of the device, this is where you're going to connect a keyboard. You have these 2 slots and you have this right here. These are all meant to connect to the keyboard. And on the other side, you just have 2 more speakers. So there's no headphone jack on the device. I know that might be a bummer to you. Now, outside of that, when you look at the box itself, you are going to notice that it does come with a charger. This device is really capable of some really good fast charging. I'm not sure off the top of my head. I think it's like 45 watt fast charging that it is capable of. However, in the box they only put like a 15 watt charger, and feel free to put in the comments if I'm wrong, if you have the exact numbers on that, but that is not great in the box, so I'm a little disappointed in that charger. But hey, at least they did put a fast charger in there, I guess. But just keep in mind, you might want to use some other fast chargers if you have them around the house, or you might have to pay a little more money for a better charger. Now, one other thing that comes in the box, which is really, really cool, is the S Pen. Now, what's the best value tablet out there? Well, it might not be this tablet, but I've got to say, including the S Pen is a really big deal. So this S Pen here, it's flat on one side, it's curved on the other side, similar to the Tab S6 Lite, and it just magnetizes here. You're going to have the pin side facing towards the camera. That's really the best way to do it. You can also put it on top of the device and you can see here it works pretty well. If you do get the keyboard cover case, it does cover up your S Pen. You're really going to want to find a case that does something with that S Pen. Now in the box you will also see a ejector tool that's going to be for that SD card slot, or a SIM card slot if you did buy a model that does have a SIM card in it. Alright, so enough talk. You probably want to know if this device is any good and if this device is worth buying. Well, I'm not doing the full review right now, but my first impressions out of the box, I am pretty impressed. I was trying to consider which one should I buy. Should I buy the Tab S7 or the Tab S7 Plus? Because I'm a normal Joe Schmo like all of you, and well, not all of you. Some of you are probably pretty important, but I'm just a normal guy, okay? I'm looking for the best device I could buy, but I don't want to waste money. So if you look at the Tab S7, all right, it has an 11-inch screen. The Tab S7 Plus has a 12.5-inch screen, but it has the same processor. From tests, there are a lot of tests that were ran on these devices. All right, the battery life is about the same. So you get a smaller battery in the Tab S7, but the battery life ends up being pretty equivalent to the Tab S7 Plus, mainly because the Tab S7 Plus is powering a larger screen. The Tab S7 is a little bit lighter, not too much lighter, but it is a little bit lighter. The fingerprint sensor is in a different place, but these are all minor things. The really major difference is the screen size and the display type. So this is not an AMOLED screen on the Tab S7. And the Tab S7 Plus, it has an AMOLED display. So I was a little bit worried when I was comparing these two displays. I was worried that this display would not be good enough. But first off, I've got to say that 120 Hz display is absolutely incredible. It flies, it looks amazing, it is so much better than I imagined. And when I think of a tablet having that 120 Hz refresh rate, I am absolutely amazed by it. That's the first thing. Second of all, the resolution is great and the brightness is fantastic. So I was worried about the brightness on this tablet, but this device, it does get very bright. In fact, the brightness of the Tab S7, it's actually higher. It's got more nits than the brightness in the Tab S7 Plus. Now, I'm not saying it'll look brighter because you have the AMOLED display, but this device, for me, I had it on 25% brightness, and I thought it was at full brightness or 75% when I first had it. It looked absolutely great. I'm on 50% now, the lights all around, I don't even see a lot of glare. So this device gets very bright. I think the colors pop, and yes, that might mean the AMOLED screen is better, and I know it is better, but is it really $200 better? Because you get an 1.5-inch screen and you're getting an AMOLED display. Is that worth $200 to you? And Samsung, they were smart. They knew if they did not make this an AMOLED display, you'd have to make that tough decision, and so did I. I was also worried about the keyboard cover. I was worried, is the keyboard cover big enough? Well, I've got the keyboard cover right here in my hand, and one interesting note, I did hear people say, and a lot of people did some live streams about it, and they said, yeah, the keyboard cover is bigger on the Tab S7 Plus. And of course it is, right? You have a 1.5-inch screen size difference. That's a size difference that, of course, they have to make the keyboard bigger. But this keyboard, what's interesting is they took out the function keys, and I looked up at close-ups between both keyboards. And the main difference, the keys did not look any smaller. Okay, so I took a close-up picture of these two devices and I looked very closely at it, and just keep in mind, okay, that I could be wrong here, but I was looking at very close-up photos identically of these two keyboards. All of these keys looked the same size, okay, between the Tab S7 and the Tab S7 Plus. But the big difference was there's no function row on the Tab S7, and they made these keys on the left just a little smaller. We're talking like the Shift key and the Tab and things like that. Those keys are a little bit bigger on the Tab S7 Plus keyboard. So they didn't sacrifice a lot for this 11-inch keyboard, and I was actually very surprised. This is definitely an upgrade over the Tab S6 keyboard. Typing on it, it was great. I had a good experience with it so far. Now you might be wondering about the case and how it attaches. I'll say this really fast. It attaches like normal, and if you had the Tab S6, It was a nightmare, okay? It was like some suction cup thing going on. Now, if you've got the tablet in place, you should know these magnets are very strong. I can actually hold the tablet up by the magnets. I would not try this at home, but I can hold it with the magnets alone in this case here, and it does hold up pretty well. So you've got the stand that goes all the way up and down, and the keyboard case actually magnetically attaches down to the top, so the Tab S6 keyboard case would wiggle around. This one does not. It actually stays shut. So they improved it a lot. They improved everything from the back, which is tremendous. They improved the keyboard. I feel like the travel's better. I think the keys feel better to use. I feel like the keyboard's a little bigger than the Tab S6. So they improved a ton with this keyboard. But the only thing that I think about, okay, and for you budget conscious people, if I'm just gonna use it primarily as a tablet, if I add this on, right, this is hard to use on your lap, okay, no matter who you are. If you're trying to use this little thing on your lap, it wiggles around, it doesn't work very well. But if you, on the other hand, you detach this, put this on a table, and you get an external keyboard, one that's a little sturdier, you put it on your lap, it does work a little bit better. So if you get a good case, you can get a case for about 20 bucks, and you can get a Logitech K380 for about 30 bucks. So you could spend 50 bucks to get a keyboard that is deeper, that has more reliable key travel than this. And I know they wanted it to fit, all right? The key is here, they want this to be your 2-in-1 device. They want this to be able to go on the go with you. They want this front piece to protect your screen. But here's the problem with that, okay? It is not better than a laptop at being a laptop, okay? If you wanted a laptop, you probably would have just bought a laptop. The reason you buy this is because you primarily want a tablet and you want a laptop as a secondary device. You want this for some productivity work, but you don't want productivity work to be your main thing. That's who should really buy this tablet, because this is phenomenal for media. The Tab S7 and the S7 Plus have phenomenal, great screens with great brightness. They look great. So when I'm thinking about this, I'm saying, why would you spend $200 for that when you could spend 20 bucks on a case and you could spend 30 bucks on a keyboard? You could spend $50 and you could put this wherever you want. You could still protect it. It'd be very light. You could use it as a tablet 80-90% of the time. And then when you want a keyboard, pop it out of your bag, turn it on, and you go to work, right? And you could just put it on a table, go to work. Who cares if it's attached, right? As long as you have something to protect the front, who cares if the keyboard is attached? Now, if you desperately want the keyboard attached, this is 100% your best option. This is a good keyboard, but no keyboard on an 11-inch tablet is going to replace something that's a little bit deeper, like the Logitech K380. Now, they made this very light. This is actually a very light keyboard. I think it's lighter than last year. And they made it light so you could travel with it, and you could have a keyboard that you could easily travel with your tablet like this. So I get that, okay? If you're wanting straight portability, this is a good keyboard. It's better than the Tab S6 keyboard. It's better than the Tab S4 keyboard. This is the best portable keyboard I've used, and in some ways this is even better than the Apple keyboard. So I think this keyboard is great. Do not get me wrong. But I'm talking to you budget conscious people out there. All right, if you're getting the keyboard case for half off, I think that's a pretty darn good deal, and I think it's a toss-up, right? But if you're going to spend $200, I don't think this case is worth $200. So again, there's that Logitech keyboard that's 30 bucks. That's portable. I'll have a link for it in the description. That's a great alternative if you're looking for a cheap option. All right, so here's some of my final concluding thoughts, and during this time, I'm going to have a nice clip rolling of the tablet and how it works, because you're going to see it is buttery smooth to use. And in my opinion, I have not had the Tab S7 Plus in my hands, and of course any tech nerd that gets both, they're going to want the better device. Of course, that's how it works. But I'm very glad that I spent less money and got the Tab S7, because from all the tests that I've read, the battery life is similar between the two devices. The keyboard isn't really smaller. It's not that much smaller. You just have a few smaller keys on the left, and you don't have the function keys. But because of that, I get a lighter tablet, which I like. I get a fingerprint sensor, which I prefer, so I don't even like the in-screen fingerprint reader, so I like that I have the regular fingerprint sensor here on the device. I think that's a big plus. And yes, the tablet itself, it doesn't have an AMOLED display. So that's the one thing. Is an AMOLED display worth $200 to you when this display looks phenomenal? This has a 120 Hz refresh rate. It's very fast. And performance is just absolutely smoking. Now again, all these are random thoughts. I'm just thinking through the tablet here. But one thing you're going to have to think about, if you're someone who isn't sure if you need to buy this, you do need to know that Android apps are not optimized very well to work with tablets. And that's a big bummer. I'm hoping that changes as folding phones come out, and as folding phones get more traction, they're going to make devices to work in landscape mode more often. So I'm excited about that. But I had a lot of apps that did not work in landscape mode, okay? Best Buy doesn't work in landscape mode. eBay has had some problems working in landscape mode, at least for me in the past. The City app for credit cards does not work in landscape mode. There are a lot of apps, even if it's minor things like credit cards and things like that. So you're going to have to make Chrome shortcuts and use those and put those on your home screen instead for those websites. So that's a good workaround for you. Same thing with Dex. And one final thought for you, okay? This is supposed to be a big first impressions video, and if you've been watching a whole bunch of these videos, you might have a lot of questions. And one of the most annoying things about the Tab S7 keyboard or the Tab S6 keyboard, if you are typing really, really fast and you hold the Shift key and then you press the space bar to go to the next letter. Let's say you type the letter I and then you press space. Well, normally Shift and space brings up a language menu, and that's absolutely terrible because it means every time you press Shift and space, you don't get a space, and that's a huge bummer. Well, finally, they have changed that, and there is now a setting where you could turn off Shift and space to take you to the language setting or whatever. So good news for you if that was an issue for you with the Tab S6 like it was for me. Well, I've had reviewers say that that's one issue with the tablet, and I'm happy to report that, well, Shift and space is no longer an issue if you turn it off in the settings. So those are my random thoughts so far. I really just wanted to answer some of your questions between the two different devices. I wanted to let you know my thoughts on it, and simply put, this is a performance beast. It is a machine. It is super fast, and the display on the Tab S7 is way better than I feel people are giving it credit for. It is not AMOLED, but man, it is way better than the Tab S6 Lite. And I would argue it's right up there with the Tab S5e and the Tab S6. It's very, very close in my opinion. And it is very, very bright, and the 120 Hz refresh rate just takes all the pain away. It is so buttery smooth, and I absolutely love it. And the battery life has been good to me, at least in my one day of using it. So hopefully this helps you make a decision. I have a full review coming up. Feel free to click that as one of the recommended videos. I'm sure if you're watching this in a couple weeks, that review may be available to you. Otherwise, please hit that subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications, and please follow me on Twitter. I am trying to get my Twitter following going. I want to let you know about, tech deals and stuff like that. So feel free to follow me there, and thank you so much for watching and for your support. Have a good one and be safe.